What I'm going to share with you is obviously an interesting topic. It's a portrait of this generation of young people. It's a study called The Truth About Youth. So I come from the business of marketing and advertising. So to be able to do our jobs, it's very important for us to be able to understand the pulse of culture and people around the world. Youth in particular is a challenging topic to study because literally every 3 to 5 years a generation changes. So this is a study that we update periodically. In the Philippines, we've been doing it since year 2000. The latest version is 2017, which I'm going to show you today. So we have a good read of what's been happening over the last 2 decades. This topic is particularly close to my heart because in my function as a leader in the company, I also deal and manage a lot of our young people, sometimes as young as 17, 16. And in many cases, I'm an educator, but I'm also a parent and a coach to them. And I hope I can share that experience and learning with you today. You may take pictures of my chart, it's okay, I won't be offended. Just give us credit, use the official hashtag if you're so inclined to that. But otherwise, I'll keep it light, interesting, and entertaining. There's a lot of data, I'll warn you now. Some of it might trigger some strong reactions, that's okay. Just keep an open mind. Alright? So, here we go. Before I jump into the study, a couple of technical details. Sorry. Alright, thank you. A couple of technical details about the study. Okay, so this is a massive global study based on a quantitative portion in survey form and a qualitative portion. The quantitative portion is composed of 33,000 interviews in 18 countries, and Asia is quite well represented, including the Philippines. So the data I'm going to show you is largely from this survey. Now to give us texture and flavor behind the numbers, we supplemented this with some qualitative work in the form of over 120 sessions with young people in these countries. So in the countries that weren't covered by the numbers, we have a good lead as well because we did the qualitative work. Alright? Now, when you talk about young people, one of the things we've realized is it's a very diverse generation. These are the faces of many of the young people we actually met in the course of research. And you'll quickly realize that none of them really look alike. There's no mold, there's no template or pattern for what a young person looks like today. And I want to emphasize that because it's very important to consider that this is probably the generation of young people that's the most scrutinized, the most labeled, and I'm going to cringe when I say this, so I hope I don't offend anyone in the room, but the label millennial to me is a little derogatory. They don't like it either, but it's convenient for us to label and pigeonhole generations with labels. And unfortunately, they're really extremely scrutinized. And I realized that this is a very passionate topic. Just last July, I was interviewed on Channel 7 in the show of Willie Monsod, and the topic was millennials in the workplace. I was not prepared for what happened after. So my phone, my email inbox, and my social media accounts were blowing up because people were reacting to the topic. On one end, I would get bashers telling me, why are you upholding young people? They're bad, they're evil, etc., etc. And then on the other end, I would get notes from parents saying, thank you for helping me understand my children, or notes from young people saying, finally, somebody who's not stereotyping as a selfish and narcissistic. So it just made me realize it's a very passionate and emotional topic. And I'm sure it is also for you. So when you look at the data, what I encourage you is to keep an open mind. Try to park your judgments for a moment. Just for a moment. Then we can talk about it in the open forum. Because this idea of judgment has been happening for a long, long time. The term millennial was originated somewhere 2013, 2014. It was part of its Time magazine cover story. And you can see in the headline, it's the me generation, kaya millennial. Alright? Now, it's not a new thing. What I've realized looking at the history of time is that every generation thinks they're better than the generations that follow them. This is a universal truth. And if you go back in time, you'll realize the same narrative will be happening every decade. It's not coincidence. It's probably going to keep happening in the next decade. Our students right now, the people we manage, are going to think the same way about the generations that follow them. So it's going to happen. So let's try to step back and try to understand them as a different generation. Because to ask the question, are they better or worse than us, is a little hard to answer. It's debatable. I would say in some ways, yeah, they're worse, but they're also better in other ways. So it's a zero-sum game. Rather, let's look at them as different. Because I think if we understand their difference, it's easy for us to understand also how we might partner and collaborate better with one another. And I can tell you they are certainly different. Right? So before I jump into the study, I want you to indulge me a little bit. We're going to go back on a trip back in time. Right? I want you to channel the time you were a teenager. Some of us might not want to remember that, that's okay. Think about the time you were a teenager. Think about what the world was like. Think about what decade this was happening. What do you think? Sorry, you may go. Okay? No? One last try. The music's worth it. Yeah. The Countess grew up in the 70s. Yes? Right. Some of us were the MTV generation, the 80s. Yes, big hair, acid jacket. Some of us were the 90s kids. So you remember what it's like now, right? Every generation is different. But let me ask you, all of us in this room, who remembers when they were growing up, they were asking, who am I going to be when I grow up? Curious. I think all of us, right, at some point, we did. Who remembers wondering who my friends would turn out to be and who I would marry as a partner? Again, all of us thought about that, right? Who remembers thinking about what kind of person will I end up being? What would be my career, my vocation? Again, all of us did the same thing. And I say this because the same thing is happening with young people. Yes, the world has changed. There are things that have changed for their generation, but what's good to know is that the basics of being young have not changed even for this current generation. In fact, what I will tell you is being young is still about the same three things. You could say that these are the fundamental truths about being young. And these truths are being young is first of all about finding yourself. It's about defining your identity. Being young is still about finding your people, right? Who are my friends? Who are my circle? And finally, being young is still about finding your place in the world. What's my nickname? What's my purpose? What am I doing in this life? Those three things have not changed, right? This generation of young people is still figuring it out, still grappling with these same truths that the previous generations of youth had to think about. What is different, however, is how these fundamentals of being young are expressing themselves in the world. And they're changing because of a new force that did not exist 5, 10, even 15 years ago. And I think that force is obvious. It's in the theme of the conference. It's a thing we call technology. Right? And when I say technology, from the perspective of this generation of young people, I'm referring to the combination of internet access, mobile devices, and social networks. That's what technology generally means to young people. Some are into AI, but not really. This is more the backdrop from them. And this context is coloring the way they look at things, their attitudes, their behaviors, their values. Right? So just to illustrate the point, there are some new behaviors that have emerged because of the presence of technology. So to all of you in the room, especially parents, don't kill me for this, I'm just the messenger. Just look at this next chart. Who remembers when they were growing up thinking, you know, I'm going to send a naked picture to a friend I know? Of course not. We were not that generation. Right? But see, 1 out of 4 young people in the world have. Right? Because, and again, if you look at it, this is behavior that's made possible because the technology exists. Right? It's facilitated by that. The numbers might actually be higher because these are just the people who admit it. Right? Now, thankfully, at least in this part of the world, we seem to be a little nicer, 15% in Asia. Right. Of course, there are differences by country. Okay, so to our friends in India, I cannot explain this for you, but it's there. Right? Okay, so to the Filipinos in the room, also the Philippines, are you saying is relatively wholesome? Well, not exactly, because if you make it a specific question like, have you looked at porn on your mobile device? We're amongst the highest in the world. So again, new behavior facilitated by technology. This would not have happened years ago. Okay? Now, next. Who remembers growing up thinking, you know what, when I grow up, I'm going to be a live streamer. What is that? Is that even a job? Well, you know, according to our young people, it is a job. This is a natural response from one of the young people we interviewed. I want to grow up as a live streamer. What is that? It's basically sharing yourself on social media, whether through photos, videos, or a live feed, right? And it's a viable career because it makes you money. In many countries in Asia, for example, this is a thing. Let me introduce you to 3 people. The lady on the top is Susa. So she's a singer in China who became famous because she started streaming her songs on the Chinese equivalent of the social network. Hikakin is a beatboxer, so a rapper who does his own sounds. The one on the right, one thing is very interesting. He's a history teacher. who streams his classes online in China. And he's had a huge following in thousands because of that. But see, the idea of streaming yourself is a legitimate career. It's a way to get influence, to get followers, to get your product and your brand out there. That's a new thing. Right? Okay. In the Philippines, we're seeing the same thing. Let me introduce you to three people you may or may not know. This is Trisha Gosingtian. She was one of the original fashion bloggers. She's now 29, but she started doing this when she was 21. She's literally a business. She sells her own clothes under her own brand name. She was one of the first Filipinos invited to New York Fashion Week. She makes a lot of money being herself, essentially. This is Bretman Rock. Has more Instagram followers and YouTube subscribers than a lot of companies and products do. What does he do? Makeup video blogs, and he hawks the products on his videos. This last one I met recently, this is Donna the Explorer. She's 4 years old. And she has 1 billion views on YouTube. What is she doing? She reviews theme parks and toys. Fantastic. And she's really cute and funny. But imagine her at 4. She's already made for life. That's the new world we live in. Right? So all of this happened because technology is now a factor. Right? And when you look at it from the point of view of young people, they really cannot imagine a time when technology did not exist. We asked young people around the world, could you give us a picture that represents your generation? And this is what they gave us. Just look at it. Do you see a theme? Technology is like water already, in the Philippine example on the upper left. My favorite one is the Brazil one. If you have a toilet, a phone, Wi-Fi, and a plug, infinite. All good. But recurring theme, technology is a fact of life. So a lot of times this generation has been described as a generation of digital natives. We think that doesn't quite capture fully the picture. Instead, we prefer to think of this generation as a generation of accessibility natives. Okay, why? Technology has given them unprecedented access to an unprecedented amount of content and material. They can literally access people, networks, ideas, learning, facts true or not, businesses, etc. Everything is accessible to them thanks to the power of technology today. And that access is coloring the way they're growing up and they're looking at the world. So I want you all to keep that in the back of your mind because the fundamental truths about growing up are shaped by that reality, that they have access to everything. So let's begin with the first chapter of the story, which is about finding yourself. So this is about identity. Now, once upon a time, to be an adult was associated with traditional milestones. So, for example, you get 21, 25, you got married, you bought a car, you bought a house. Back then, that was adulthood. Because then, adult was a noun. It's something that happens to you when you get a certain age or a certain milestone in life. You have no choice, even if you were not ready. You just grew up. This generation looks at it a little differently. They look at the word adult as a verb. It's action. It's something you choose to do or not do, depending on how you're feeling at the moment. What I'm referring to is a global phenomenon better known as adulting. And this is something that came up around the world. These are the pictures again that were submitted. My favorite is the one from Australia. I can't adult today, please don't make me adult. And you would argue even when you're older and supposed to be an adult, you feel like this on Monday morning. Right? We're all there. So it's a fluid state. They choose to be a grown-up depending on when they feel like it or when they don't feel like it. And this is extending to other realms outside, in the home and outside the home. If I was to ask you, what do you think is the age where it's still acceptable to stay with your parents? What would you say it is?
Forever.
Forever? That's idealistic. Any guesses? Okay. Around the world, the average age is considered acceptable to still stay with your parents is 32, funny enough. And a young person from Brazil put it really nicely. Before, a woman of 25 who lived with her parents was considered a spinster. Now this lady is just a millennial. So it's a thing. It's happening all around the world, of course in varying degrees. When you look at the country level, some countries are really outstanding. So Hong Kong and Japan, it's okay to stay in your 40s with your parents, right? Philippines were smack in the middle, around 30, right? Same with India's about 37. So, but the general pattern holds. It's becoming more acceptable to stay with your parents longer, right? As opposed to being out of the house by 2021. Okay. Now, so as young people are delaying leaving the home, they're also taking their time trying to figure out their path in life and their careers. And so the approach to career building is different. In my day, it was a ladder. You would take a series of jobs, move up in rank, and it was all plotted out for you. These days, it's a little different. It's more like plotting seeds, and you're going to see which one blooms. You're hedging. You're making multiple bets. So to the older generations, it looks like you don't know what you want. You're being fickle. Actually, they do. They're just trying to see multiple paths. And this is happening because they have a lot more choices as far as jobs and career options now versus the other generation. So they're really just exploring all the options that are out there. It's not always about not knowing, right? So it's no coincidence that when we talk about age in particular, the most stressful ages are 21 to 30 to our young people. I don't think that's a coincidence. These are the bookends of being a grown-up, right? 21, you're supposed to be employed, paying taxes. 30, you're supposed to have a partner, you're supposed to have a house and a car, and you already know your path in life. That's a lot to ask for, right? Some of us even past 30, we don't know yet. But they're feeling the pressure amongst themselves. So one of the things we've noticed, given this pressure on growing up and the fluid nature of adulthood, is you could say the process of figuring it out, who you are, has just become more difficult. It's almost gone on steroids. It's a lot harder than it used to be. Think about it. Your career, who you're going to date, what you're going to eat. Don't even get me started on what to watch on Netflix. It's a really difficult decision. Very complex, right? So young people are feeling this. So we get high levels of agreement for statements like this. It's important to experiment even if you make mistakes, because there's so much to figure out. There are no pre-existing templates or models. You're just going to have to work it to yourself. Still high in varying degrees, but even a country like Japan, for example, which is a little more conservative with these things, almost 8 out of 10 young people are there. They're experimenting already. Okay, next. Good thing now that's happening, because the world has become more complicated. There's a lot more things to figure out. Wisdom is back in style. This is one of my favorite stats. Parents are now back in fashion as the go-to source for advice around the world. Yes! Yes. Philippines is one of the highest in the world at 83%. Now, from experience, this is parents in general. I think the parenting role is important, whether you're a biological parent or even a teacher. We're parents, we're educators, right? Even me as a manager in the corporate setting, we are like parents as well. Our young people like to go to us for advice. So this is a really important role. So to the question of Father Jeff, is there a role for us? I think this is one of the biggest ones. Give them wisdom in an age that's chaotic and confusing. Yay. Alright, now, because adulthood is so complicated, we hear a lot from the young people that, maybe I don't really want to grow up, I don't aspire for it, I want to be Peter Pan forever. Why would I want to do it? Even my mother isn't an adult. And why bother? So it's hard. We can understand why adulting is now a thing. Now let me ask you, how many of us in this room have a mobile phone that doesn't have a crack on the screen? Just curious. No crack at all, huh? Spotless. See, about half the room. So to the half of the room that raised their hand, congratulations, you are adults. According to our young people. Yes! It's only one of the little tells that you're adults. Yeah? Remember, it's no longer about turning 30 or buying a house. It's little signs that tell you you're growing up and maturing. And these are some of the many examples we heard around the world. You have a set bedtime. Wow, you're so grown up. You have a white shirt. Wow, mature. Take your time, right? You have a fancy coffee mug or a pen. You've invested in an expensive pen. You are an adult. Congratulations. In the Philippines, for the locals in the room, this is what the list looks like. Paying your own phone bills. Or here's my favorite. Processing your own government documents. That's very hard in this country. You're a grown-up. You can do all of this. But you see a pattern. It's not about big milestones. It's about little moments that tell you, hey, I'm growing up. I've got this. Yeah? Okay. So that idea of adulthood changing also translates to the skills that they need. And again, I think this is close to us as educators. What skills are going to matter according to young people? We see a very interesting pattern in Asia. So the left bar is the global average. The right bar is Asia. Look at this, managing your finances effectively. Think about it. The world has become more complex with money. Blockchain, cryptocurrency, digital payments, etc., right? Being able to network, because a lot of countries in this part of the world think success means who are you connected to, who do you know. Have an idea for a startup company is much higher in this part of the world. Again, non-traditional paths. Are there courses that prepare you for this? None. But there's a vibrant community out there in many countries here in Asia that are hungry for learning how to start a new business. So these are just indicators of how the curriculum they're asking for is changing. Of course, if you go down to individual countries, there will be specific details, so I'll just share with you a couple. Philippines is #1 in the world on managing money. There's a big hunger for that. India, for some reason, the first to know a school. I think they're thinking of a business idea. China and Hong Kong, which are about business success, it's about networking. You want to see, as you say. Right. So, in summary, this chapter really is about how finding yourself is changing. Defining yourself as a full-grown adult has changed from milestones to moments. Little things that tell you about. And these are the things that we're trying to learn about every day. It's an ongoing process. So what I can tell you is what hasn't changed is that young people are still trying to figure out who they are. Okay? Fundamentally, they're still looking for the same things. A love life, a good job, great friends, of course, money. Right? What has changed is that the entire process of figuring it out has extended. Right? You're delaying getting out of the house. You're delaying figuring out your career because life has gotten a lot more complicated. It used to be a thing that happened to you, but now adulthood is something you choose to do depending how you feel like it on a daily basis. So that's one aspect of what it means to be young today. It's about finding yourself. So the next chapter now is about finding your people. So this is about friends in your circle of influence. Now, this is not really a surprise. Of course, friends still matter. Around the world, young people say they have an average of 6 best friends. Okay, Asia, 9 best friends. We're a little more sociable. Per country, some differences. So I think China is easy to understand. Remember, there was a whole generation that grew up in a one-child household. Of course, they're going to extend the circle of friends to 12. But generally, it's a high number, right? Although not too high as you would expect. So on their social pages, they will have 1,000, 2,000 friends, but actually the inner circle is really small. Right? What does that tell us? They're really, friends are really important, right? In fact, in this part of the world, the importance of friends is about the same level as their family. So about 50-50. Globally 43%. Young people who think that their friends are more like their actual family. In Asia, it's close to half, 46%. Per country, yes, some differences. India again being the highest, but there it tells you friends really do matter. Not a surprise, right? But friends are becoming important. And as far as choosing them, there's a stringent criteria that young people have, right? Especially in a time of social media where there's a lot of fake friends, people who fake their way through life. So we asked young people, if there were 3 traits that you would look for in the friends that you would consider your closest, what would those traits be? And around the world, they gave us the same 3 traits over and over again, remarkably consistent. And those traits that they look for in a friend are honesty, loyalty, and sincerity. Interesting. Honesty, loyalty, sincerity. Why is this generation valuing this now more than ever? Again, because we're growing up in a time when things are hyper-connected. Social media is a thing. Fake news, fake people. There are bots that fake people as well. So this is really the most stringent test for friendship. In the next 2 parts, let me digress a little bit to talk about how they present themselves on social media, because this is where the difference lies between the younger generation, the 16 to 19-year-olds, and the 21 to 25-year-olds. Let's just call them the older millennial. So this is a diagram that tries to illustrate how they behave. The older millennials, think 25-year-olds, they will take their real self, and that's what they will project on their social media accounts. So what you see, for example, on the Instagram page or Instagram stories is taken from real life. Not as is, a little enhanced, so it's a curated version of their best self, but it starts from real life. The younger ones, 16 to 17-year-olds, will take an idea that they see from social media and hope that it manifests and realizes itself in the real world. It's the reverse. Right? So when they take images and video, this is what they do. The 25-year-old will make it look like it's a really nice picture. Somebody's holding her up. Right? A 16-year-old will just go to town editing, making it beautiful. And it's not fake. It's authentic because they admit that they're trying to make it the best possible version it could be. So a subtle difference, but it is a difference. This is one of the main areas where younger ones are different from the older ones. Okay. Having said that, let's now go back to social media. Social media is obviously a passion and a preoccupation to this generation. It has 2 sides. So the first side is about inspiration. So for a lot of young people, social media provides them a glimpse into a bigger world. It gives them ideas of what's possible, what could be. That's why there are hashtags coined like hashtag feed goals. I wish my life was as interesting as that feed. So it's inspiring in one end. On the other side, and this will come as no surprise, it's also a source of dissatisfaction and envy. So 1 out of 2 young people around the world do say they feel inadequate with seeing what their friends are posting in social media. And the same pattern exists in Asia, higher for some countries in fact. So Philippines is about in the middle, but China, India, Hong Kong are the higher end of the spectrum as far as social media envy is concerned. So because social media is such an important space for young people, they also try to use it as an experiment venue. So one of the things we've seen is they treat it as a dress rehearsal. So if they want to test facets of their personality that they're developing, or they want to get feedback, almost like doing research, they'll do it. For example, we spoke to somebody who wanted to reposition herself as a French ballerina fashionista. She would try to test it out on social media. And depending on what got the most likes, that's what she would go for. In a way, it's like R&D, right? Now, on one end, while this is happening, there's also the other side, which is you can get bashed and bullied. Bullying, I would say, is the new dialogue, right? As far as social media is concerned. It's a reality. I'm going to show you some numbers that indicate this, and I think these are understated, because these are only the people who admit to it. Around the world, 1 out of 4 young people say they've written a negative comment about someone they know. Right? Of course, the numbers are higher for strangers. But we know from real life that it's probably more than this. We see it. Okay. In Asia, numbers go down a little bit, but the same pattern holds. The younger you go, the more likely you are to say something negative about a person. Right? This is the country breakdown. The Philippines is actually higher. I think we feel it. Right? My insight on this is, because we're non-confrontational as a people, when it's depersonalized in social media, it brings out the worst in us. We're more empowered to do things we wouldn't normally do. But it is a thing. Right? So if you're a young person navigating this world of social media, which didn't exist before, what do you do? Is there a guidebook, right, of code of conduct? It doesn't exist, right? So what do? You try to figure your way out. So let's try to pretend we're the young people right now. Let's do a little quiz. Are you cool as a teenager? Okay, so you're just going to tell me cool or not. I'm going to show you some questions. First, using the toaster filter. Well, first of all, how many of us know the toaster filter? Okay, the toaster filter is a filter on Instagram that makes pictures look vintage style like this one. Okay.
I love the toaster.
Now, that's a toaster for bread. Okay, we learned something new today.
We can
If you decide to post a picture where you apply this filter, is that cool or not? What do we think? Who says it's cool?
Not cool.
Most people think it's not cool. Okay. What about uploading a picture with your sibling? Cool or not cool?
Cool.
Okay. Using lots of hashtags. Well, that was unanimous. This one. Posting pictures of your TV. Wow, you guys are pretty good because actually all of them are not cool. Even the posting a picture of your sibling, not cool. But see, how do you know? Is there a Wikipedia with this? None. Doesn't exist. So there are all these hidden, unspoken rules that young people have to figure out and somehow work within. And there are so many apparently. When we did this work, we counted about 450 rules that exist around the world. These are the some. There's a lot. Yeah. Check your spelling of the word. Yeah. A lot. Dress well is a rule. Ask sexy photos is a rule. Post holiday pictures. Don't troll. Yeah, a lot of rules, right? I don't even think the University Code of Conduct is this law. But see, imagine it now from their point of view. Who makes these rules? Who enforces them? Who says they exist? No one really says it. There's no central repository. So you have to figure it out. And there are country versions of these rules. So let me share with you the Philippine version. I love number 7, even if it doesn't always get followed. Think 10 times before you post. But you'll notice in the Philippines at least, the general pattern is be a positive person, don't be a force for negativity. I think that's what they're saying. Right. So, again, who makes the rules? They can't tell us. So imagine you're a young person trying to navigate this new world. There are apparently many rules you don't know about, and you could get bashed if you don't follow them. What do? It's very hard. No wonder they're quite judgmental, even amongst themselves, when they're in this digital world. So, for example, they judge people based on the photos they post online. Meaning that's a quality control. It's the new first impression, right? So quite high, half. And conversely, if you are being judged, then you know you better put your best foot forward, right? So you have to portray yourself in the best possible way through photos and videos. Anecdotally, the College of St. Benilde is a course called Multimedia Arts. It's been spiking in popularity recently. Some of it is because of animation and gaming Some of it is partly because of this. Young people want to know the skills to present themselves in the best possible way. They're thinking about their personal branding. So it's connected to this. If you're being judged, you must have a good face to show. Okay, so, which means also you're more likely to trust people who post good quality pictures. Pictures matter. We feel this too. When the brands we handle, we have to make sure the pictures are beautiful and interesting. Because we get judged on appearances too. So, having said that, there is also this desire to document their life on a regular basis. On a global scale, it seems like it's low, 37%. But when you zoom in on Asia, it's the highest in the world. And so our colleagues asked us, are you just more vain and narcissistic in Asia? I said, no. You have to understand, Asia in general is a collective continent. We like updating our family and friends about what's happening to us. It's not bragging. It's just staying connected. So I think that's the cultural context of this number. And young people will tell you, they don't look at it as bragging. It's just letting people know what's happening to me. So when you look at it per country, it shoots up again. So China and India and Hong Kong in particular are on the upper end of the spectrum. So friends do matter. Appearances do matter. Impressions matter. And that hasn't changed. Friends are still the center of the universe for young people. And being perceived as cool or interesting still matters. Just don't try too hard to look like that you're trying. Right? That hasn't changed. But this is what's changed now. Young people don't just have friends. They have an audience. They're conscious that they have an audience. And they play to their audience whether they know it or not. And that has major implications on how you reach to them, whether you're an educator, a manager, or a brand. You've got to think about what is this doing for them with respect to their audience. And businesses are actually noticing. Let me share with you one very specific example. Instagram has also changed the way people present themselves. So color palettes, framing, and poses are very important. The restaurant and real estate industries realize this. So they're now designing spaces that are friendly for Instagram. Because it gets young people to take a picture and do some inadvertent promotion on their behalf. But it's just an interesting reaction to how this generation is different to the past. Right? So one of the most popular photo spots in the city is called Venice Piazza. It's a mall, which has a mock-up of the gondolas of Venice. It's the most photographed spot on Instagram in Manila. Tells you a lot already about where it is. So that's the second chapter of the story, finding your people. The last chapter is about finding your place in the world. This is about purpose and meaning. Right? So once upon a time, our view of the world was quite limited. We would call the same few people on a modular phone, right? With a dial tone. We would talk about the same things, probably listen to the same artists, watch the same movies. And that circle of people we spoke to was quite small as well, about 5 people. Each of us had very predetermined roles for the people who know this movie. Somebody would be the nerd, the sporty person, right, the beauty queen, etc. A tribe. Right? It was a very straightforward classification. Everybody had a role to play. Right? See, this idea now is dead, it's broken, it doesn't exist. Again, these are the internet generation. There's so many other ways to behave, so many other influences to take in. So, tribe is dead, and it's the internet's fault. You can be whoever you want, you can get whatever idea, influence you want, you can create whatever persona you want to build, because there's so much raw material out there in the internet. From their eyes, the world is seen through the lens of the internet. And the lens of the internet probably looks like this. There's so much stimulus, so much ideas, color is popping, it's happening. Right? It's very hard to compete with this. So imagine you're a young person, this is the world. There's so many things to pick and choose. Right? You're looking at the world through this lens, which is more like a kaleidoscope. So we like to think of them as the kaleidoscope kids. They're looking at the world through shifting lenses, colorful lenses, a lot of stimulation, right? Colors, video, images, it's all happening at the same time. Which is then affecting the way they get stimulated and process information. So this is an interesting one. There's a feeling of boredom if you're only doing one thing at a time. So just to be clear, this is not about focus. This is about, I'm just excited and eager. And globally, it's about half. Philippines in particular is number one of this. We're just so excitable. Our regional colleagues tell us this all the time. What's with you Filipinos? You're so excitable and emotional. Well, there you go. We like doing new things all the time. To the point that we sometimes prioritize experiences over material objects. It's happening around the world, high levels, but Philippines in particular is excited. Right? Experiences matter more than ever. Part of the reason why, again, people would rather pay money to take a nice selfie in the Desert Museum, right? Or travel, which is also an experience. So this behavior of being stimulated, looking for new experiences, is exacerbated again by the technology. Because literally mobile devices are encouraging you to constantly shop, whether you realize it or not. When you're scrolling through a feed, you're shopping through people's lives, you're looking at the brands and products that they do, the places that they visit. In fact, I would say there's a particular platform that's the new window shopping. It's this, Instagram. Half of what you follow are products, services, places. In fact, they've already started integrating a buy button into this. So people are shopping for experiences all the time. Technology is just making it so easy. So let's now shift gears a little bit. I'll talk about how young people express themselves through language, because even language is changing. So this is a comparison across different ages. What kinds of forms of language are you most comfortable with? And you'll realize the pattern very quickly. The younger you get, the less comfortable you are with spoken word and written word. The more comfortable you are with emojis, videos, and music. So the language is different. They're not rejecting other forms, they're just more comfortable with others. So this has major implications on how we convey information, how we communicate. I literally have created music videos for my people. This is a glimpse of how I adjusted it sometimes. This also has differences per country. Right? So some countries are more comfortable doing emojis, like China. Japan, for some reason, is spoken word. Right? Philippines, I think no surprise, music is the language. Sing everything, put it in a jingle, it will work. Right? India is about images that you find online, whether it's a static image or a GIF, which is an animated picture. Right? So emojis in particular are a really big thing to this generation. In fact, in 2015, did you know that the word of the year was an emoji? It's this emoji, the crying face emoji. Which means that it's so funny, your eyes are watering. This was the word of the year. It just tells you, language has become so fluid. In fact, around the world, there's so many words and phrases that they use that their parents and previous generations don't understand. And this is the word cloud of those phrases. And you may recognize some of them. So for some reason, the Philippines has contributed chapa and char. I don't know why. It's there. Yeah, we're now part of the global lexicon. Yes. So language is fluid. Right? Okay. The other thing now is happening, so the world is complicated, so much stress. Did you know they're also looking back to the past? They're looking for simpler times. So part of the exercise in getting pictures that represent their generation, we got pictures like this. You notice the general narrative, life was simpler then. I wish I could go back, these nights like these, right? In the Philippines in particular, we got a lot of submissions that look like this. I'll translate for the people in the room. Childhood before was simple. We had no expensive toys, internet, or gadgets. We just had chalk in the street. Life is good. Before, when it was your birthday, you used to get many gifts. When it's your birthday now, you get many notifications. The world has changed. You see, behind these photos is indicating a thirst for a simpler, easier, in fact, a slightly more romantic time. So there is a side to this generation that I would describe as the new nostalgics. They see the past as this beautiful, pure time, less complicated, like a rainbow. That's why, things from the past are back, whether it's vinyl records, the fashion style, music, even places. They're romanticizing the past. I really think it's a reaction to the complexity of the modern day. They're trying to look for balance. So not all is well, and they don't just take it as is. They're trying to resist it. Now, I'm going to zoom in specifically to the Philippines because this is where you see the stress of the modern day really emerging. One of the questions we've been tracking specific to the Philippines is the things that young people are worried and concerned about. And we've been tracking it since 2000. And what we look at are the items on a very long list that score higher than 20%, meaning 1 out of 5 young people are thinking about it seriously, because that tells us that's probably quite significant. So this is what we've seen. When we did it in 2000, there were only 2 items that scored above 20%, and they were about finding a job, making money. Of course, who doesn't worry about that? 2006 it went up, 19 items. New things like drugs were eaten, typhoons, crime, and then 2013 that list jumped to 37 items. So they're worried about more things. Okay. I don't know if this is readable, but this is the list. So you see, simpler worries. In 2006, there were new things like growing old alone. Young people are worried about that. Being sick for a long time, super viruses, getting AIDS is now a worry. 2013, you have new things like terrorism, scarcity of oil and water, big global macro concerns. Why are you even worried about that, young people? But it's there. I would argue because they're more connected and more aware of these concerns. And they're stressing about it, they can't help it. It's in their radar. So you can imagine this playing a role in their mind, in society. They're worried. So much so that they're even worried about dying. I don't know why. Right? So half of people around the world are afraid of dying, but interestingly, the younger you go, the higher the worry gets. So there's a lot of anxiety. You see a very torn generation. They're excited, they're eager, but they're also stressed and worried. They're grappling with adulthood, right? Very conflicted. So keep that in mind. I'll go back to the point later, but it's not as clear-cut as it looks. Right? Now, let's talk about the good side of the young people. So they're actually a lot more enlightened than past generations, a lot more principled, I would say. One of the areas where it's really coming up is the topic of diversity. This is a generation that really values diversity of people, of backgrounds, of lifestyle. We heard this beautiful story from a young Filipino student who's gay but had not come out yet to his parents. And this is what he told us. He was competing in a photography contest. And he wanted to win so badly, not so much to win, but to make the parents proud, to show them to see, I can be as productive as any member of society, because the parents were coming from a generation that saw, gay children as second rate. So there is that, but to their generation it's normal. So, no surprise, high agreements for knowing and talking about social issues is important. And interestingly, in this part of the world, it's quite high, especially in the Philippines. Right? There is a consciousness. Now, they may not always be able to act on it. They may act on it sometimes in superficial or quick ways, but there is that desire to do it. And this is unique. We haven't seen this in past generations. When you talk about the causes they care about, there's a very interesting story. So the older generations seem to be more focused on individual freedoms. So you'll see that the agreement scores go higher for big issues like disease, religious freedom, politics. It's more a concern of the older people. When you look at the younger people, their concerns are more about social equality. Race, women, LGBT, transgender. And I think we see it all around. There really is a theme. When you look at the barcadas and the circles of friends, unlike the tribes which have very stereotypical roles, they're more mixed and more diverse now. It's normal to them. That's a unique thing to this generation. So again, being inclusive and welcoming to people, they really, really agree with that. It's something that's important to them, something they really value. In fact, I would say to this generation, equality is non-negotiable. They value it, they look for it. They're quite different. Now, one last thing about the goodness of young people. This is something, again, unique that we saw has been spiking in recent years from the time we've been tracking the study. We asked the young people this question: how would you want to be remembered? And we give them a long list. Things like to be powerful, remember the successful, I took care of my family, very long list. And in 2011, this item, a person who changed the world, I want to be remembered as that, scored 17%, was number 3 on the list. When we ran the data again in 2016, it jumped up to number 1, 23%. So there's a shift. Be remembered as somebody who changed the world in a positive way, whether big or small. It's becoming more important to young people, especially in the Philippines. It's happening all across Asia, but particularly in this country. And I think it's a thirst for correcting a lot of things that are not ideal or working in our society. The young people have it. I think we see it in their everyday work, sometimes in their extracurricular activity. And this is something that gets glossed off often when we judge them as self-centered, narcissistic, weak, soft, etc. Right? And they believe that institutions can help them make the world better. So when I say companies and brands, this includes some institutions, educational institutions as well. So they really believe organizations, if they partner with them, could be viable partners. Higher in the Philippines too, 92%. So they don't look at groups and organizations as the enemy. They want to partner with us. They know we have resources and clout that they could use to further whatever cause they're interested in. Right? So much so that they believe, even more than the government. And again, this is not political, this is not criticism of the government. I think it's an acknowledgement on their part that organizations have resources and clout that can be maximized for the greater good. Right? So let me share with you one example of how we try to do this for young people with one of our global clients called Microsoft. So the new CEO, Satya Nadella, had this mission when he entered. He said, I want this company to be about empowering every person on the planet to achieve more. So they obviously do that with software and hardware, but they wanted to extend it to the talent because talent is very important to them. So obviously education is part of that. And one thing that really stood out was the fact that only 1 in 5 STEM professionals are actually women. So science, technology, engineering, math. So they're only literally getting from half available talent. They're ignoring the women. Unless this changes, the face of the industry will not change. So working with us, they said, what could we do to help stem the tide? And the thinking there was, if we encourage girls to pursue STEM-related studies, we double the chances that they could create something that changes the world. Right? So why not do something about that? So together with them, we started developing a program globally called Make What's Next, to try to encourage young girls to take STEM studies so that they could be the creators of what's next. It was rolled out last year to coincide with International Women's Day to 7 countries. It will eventually make its way to this part of the world in the next 18 months. But let me share with you a short video that we use to kind of promote it to the young people.
My favorite subject in school is science because you can invent all different kinds of cool things and there's like no limit what you can do.
One inventor is Benjamin Franklin.
Leonardo da Vinci,
Thomas Edison. Albert Einstein.
Nikola Tesla.
Alexander Bell Grant.
No. It's not a tough one.
In school, it was always a male inventor. I just realized that.
There's so much there, we don't even know that stuff. You're surprised because they only talk about Einstein, Benjamin, but you never hear a girl in a conversation.
To know that there were women before me, it gives me like motivation that I can invent something and maybe like a change in the world, and that would be really cool.
If you look at the film, there's actually 2 modern day things that are infused there. The first is obviously the idea of diversity, so more women is part of it. Second is the reframing of the narrative for STEM. Because STEM used to be seen as a back-end job, you wear a hard hat, but now it's been reframed as inventing, creating things with it. So, just a glimpse, but see, if you reframe the narrative and you align it with their values, with their generation, you can change the way that we pitch curriculum and things like that for them. So this whole program actually has a whole infrastructure behind it. And the way it works is Microsoft, because it owns many businesses, dedicates resources to learning, to teaching, to advocating STEM courses, and even future jobs. So a lot of this is on the website, but very quickly, they have materials to help young people learn, so they can go direct and access it. Just think of this as the curriculum part of the program. Then they have a pillar that's just dedicated to the educators. They equip educators and institutions with materials of STEM, plus resources from Microsoft. And then finally, industry professionals can serve as role models and advocates. So they have whole programs on that. And then they happen to own LinkedIn, which is the job social network. So they connect the jobs that have something to do with STEM to the young people who are thinking, what could I be doing? So it's a whole ecosystem trying to get more young people into STEM. One interesting example. So to close this chapter, what hasn't changed is young people are still optimists at the heart. They're still hungry to affect change. Where it's slightly different is they're more collaborative than past generations. They actually think companies, brands, institutions can be great partners for effecting the change. And they're hungry to hear from us and see what we can do. So think of them more as partners and collaborators rather than subordinates that we exert our authority over. So just to cap, I said that the fundamentals of being young have not changed. They've just been affected by the rise of technology. So being young is still about finding yourself. It's about finding your people, and it's about finding your place in the world. And obviously there are conflicted generations who are dealing with a lot of things that previous generations did not. So I think when we look at them, let's look at them with empathy and understanding and try to see how can we help them deal with something that no generation ever in our history has ever had to deal with. And as a final thought, I want to leave you with some hopeful thought. We ask young people around the world, despite everything that's happening to you, despite how difficult the world is, what is the one thing you're proudest about your particular generation? We were expecting to get many different kinds of answers, but we got something consistent across every country around the world. And the answer to that was that they're proud that their generation is an optimistic one. Right? Despite everything, they still believe in the goodness of people. They still believe that change is possible. they still believe that humanity can get better. I think that's something we should nurture and harness and not lose moving forward. That ends the presentation. I hope you found it stimulating. Thank you very much.